All right, all right. We are back at the podcast studio in beautiful Belmar, New Jersey at the Grit Won't Quit. And we have a very special guest on today. We have Danny from B5, Bravo 5. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
Good. Thanks for coming in.
Oh, man, I appreciate you having me.
We got introduced by a previous podcast guest and also a wingman client, Drew Smith. He's out in that Hamilton area, and he knows you probably from some networking and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Networking group and I both belong together.
Drew is a big networker.
Yeah, Drew's a big networker. Big personality.
Big person. Great guy.
Great guy.
Great guy. I remember when I first met him, he's just an all-around nice guy.
Yeah.
He'd give you the shirt off his back.
Yeah, and as I met Drew and started talking to him more and more, him and I actually live in the same town, and I know his two daughters just graduated from college.
Yes, that's so exciting.
Which is really awesome. And, so just a lot of similarities there. Drew's the ultimate networker.
Yep. So going into your world, so thank you for the hat too.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'll definitely be rocking it. I'll put it on for the guests real quick. On the fitted hat side, I'm like in that in-between stage, but I think large XL is probably the right fit. So you started out in the Navy, then you went into the police to be a police officer, and then you went into your own business. So that
Pretty
takes
much.
some grit. So let's kind of let's go back to the early days. Let's go back to the Navy and the submarines.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So I don't know if it was grit back then or just
straight
luck,
up hustle,
God's plan that I ended up on this path. But I'm grateful for it, no matter what it was. But the Navy and any service, right? I respect all the services. They're going to teach you grit if you don't have it.
Yeah.
So the Navy submarine experience, I'll give a shout out to the boat I was on, the USS Columbia, SSN 771. Loved it. Loved my time there. Met some of the best people.
Still keep up with some of the guys?
I do. I have a really close friend that I'm still in touch with. He is down in Texas these days, originally from North Carolina. He was a career guy. I was not, but he stayed in for, I believe, 22 years. Jonathan Simpson.
Shout out to Jonathan.
Yeah, great guy. A man of many names. I call him Homer because his last name's Simpson.
Yep.
That kind of stuff. His close friends and family call him Andy. I think being from the South, they use the middle name, so that's what that's about. But whatever you call him, everybody I know that talks about him calls him a great guy. So
awesome.
I still keep in touch with him. Through Facebook these days and everything else, you can message some of your buddies and still be in touch with them a little bit. So, yeah. I kind of got off track there, so I'm sorry about that. But, yeah, the submarine service was great for me.
You did 5 years in that?
Yeah, just under 5 years active duty. It's easier to say 5, but I was really close to 5 years. I was fortunate. The boat I was on was a pre-com, which means they were still building it when I got orders to it. Was able to help finish build it in New London, Connecticut, and then they home ported in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. So I had the good fortune to live in Pearl Harbor for a little while.
Wow.
And I really enjoyed my time there.
Then you get out of there, you've learned some grit, you've learned some hustle, you've learned some discipline.
Yeah, for sure.
It had a nice haircut too, I'm sure. And then you go...
Kind of looks the same. By then it wasn't by choice, right? Now it's not by choice. But then I had to do it or keep it close. But now this is the only haircut I can go for.
Fair. So then you decide that you're going to become a police officer.
Yeah, so I came home from the Navy, and I did have a desire to become a police officer. It wasn't something I thought about when I was a kid. I didn't have any disrespect for the police officer, but it just wasn't on my radar or something I really thought about. However, when I was in the Navy and knew I was coming home and wasn't going to re-enlist, you start thinking about these things and talking to the guys you're serving with, this came up like, civil service jobs, it's kind of a transition, or, take the test and things like that. So when I came home, I started taking different tests, and I obviously took the police test, excuse me, but I took other tests. I took a union test, and I was just at that point really trying to find a stable job that could turn into a career. I at that point had not accomplished a college degree yet. I left high school, spent a summer after high school working for my brother who owns his own business and landscaping and cutting lawns, and then went to Navy and came home still with this as a high school diploma. So I kind of knew I needed to do something, right? And I started taking these kinds of different tests, and I was fortunate enough to get hired by a police department and spend a nice career there.
21 years there.
Yeah, 21 years. Had a really nice career. Once again, for me, it was a lot of similarities for the military. I was able to work with a group of men and women that shared a common purpose and have a common goal, and there's the brotherhood, sisterhood, that's there, and I like that, the teamwork and those things those are things that are attractive to me. So really nice career. Once again, met a lot of great people, people that I'm still in touch with today. I'm happy to call close friends, people that end up in my wedding, people that my kids now call aunt or uncle.
Yeah.
So I never really had private sector jobs in my adult life, so I don't know if there's the same closeness there, but I know in the public service for military and police, it's there.
Yep. So you climbed the ladder at the police department.
I was fortunate. I was able to earn a couple of promotions. I did retire as a lieutenant, but the thing about the police departments is that it's a job that takes a lot of grit. Since that's the theme of the show, it's shift work or long hours or unpredictability. You're out there in good weather, bad weather, heat.
You never have the same day twice.
You don't, and regardless if you think you're going to hear the same job you're going to or the same call, no matter what it is, something as routine as noise complaint, or something maybe is not as routine as possible, I don't know, whatever, burglary in progress, stolen car. They maybe sound the same, but the set of circumstances is always different, right? Is the time of day, the weather, the people that are involved with it. It's just never exactly the same. I think that's an attraction for a lot of guys, especially the military vets, is not being in that office situation and in the cubicle and
doing the same thing.
Doing the same thing.
Monotonous.
So, monotonous, right? And there's definitely, especially as a younger man or woman, you get hired, so it'll be so exciting. I don't know if it ever turns out to be as exciting as you thought it was going to be, but it's definitely not monotonous, and it's definitely something that requires fortitude, right? You're often put into situations where, well, number one, you're always put into situations where you're in charge, right? So when you respond, it doesn't matter if you're fresh off the field training program as a new officer, if you're the 20-year vet, the people that called you there and need you there are looking for you to be in charge, right? So that's a real thing. And then you're often at that point put in situations that have to make important decisions with limited or inconsistent information in shorter periods of time, right? And the more chaotic or more serious the nature of the call, the quicker you have to make that decision with less information. And so that becomes a balancing act. And learning how to do that, and move on to the next one.
And there's no real playbook. Like, the playbook is that you're in charge, that you have to do certain things, but like when you get there, you got to make decisions based on what you see, and the information you have at that point in time.
And that's right. And I will say that I think, again, I've only been a police officer in New Jersey, so this is not to besmirch any other states, but I think New Jersey does a very good job of having policies and procedures and training requirements and training programs to prepare their officers as much as possible. But when the rubber meets the road, there's going to be a circumstance that you just didn't encounter before, and you're going to have to take all that knowledge and training and experience and be like, okay, how do I fit that into this situation, and make sure there's a positive outcome, and that's really the goal.
So after 21 years, you decide that you wanted to spend more time with
family,
family first.
Yeah, definitely.
And family first means family first.
Means family first, right? So you can't have a value that's the number one value and espouse that as your value, but then not live up to it, in my humble opinion, right? So, like I said, the police department I was at treated me well. I'm never going to speak bad about my time there. I really enjoyed the job, enjoyed the people I worked with, but it was a commute for me. I didn't live in the town I worked in. So I was losing a lot of time every day in a vehicle just to make the commute, plus long shifts. And as my children were getting older, and I know soon they'll be college and out of my house, I really wanted to get some of that time back if I could. So I found myself in a position to be able to purchase some of my military active duty time towards my pension and be able to retire. And so
that's fantastic.
Yeah, I was nervous. You never know. Is this the right decision? Am I making the right decision for me, for my family, right? Because it's a livelihood and a career, and it provides so much for my family. So there's a bit of nervousness that comes with it. There's a bit of for me, excited anticipation of what's next.
What's the next?
But then the day you leave, it's really bittersweet. Really bittersweet because you spend over 2 decades in a place with people, and it's sometimes it's hard to let that go.
Definitely.
But I have gotten a lot more time back with my family, which is great.
Yep.
I appreciate you bringing them up. I have 3 healthy, wonderful children, a boy and 2 girls, and in the last 3 years, I've had so much more time to spend with them than I would have if I.
Are they enjoying it as much as you are?
I'll bet you if you ask them, sometimes they would say no, right?
And they wish that you were back on that 3 hour.
Yeah, sometimes they're, man, I need a break from this guy, but no, I'd like to think so.
Perfect. And you get to go to their games and their events, and their stuff with the school and everything.
Right. And so my oldest daughter, Abigail, we go to Lake George, on Memorial Day weekend in the past, and so we run in kayaks, and she's starting to really enjoy that. So this past season, I became like the used kayak hunter on Facebook Marketplace, right? So now that's something we're going to add into our hobbies this year, and something to go out and do. So, and honestly, I don't know if I would have had the time to do that, in my last, career. So to have those things is great. Like I said, my son Jack's a big basketball player, AU basketball player. We're down here in Belmar, so I was just mentioning we were at St. Rose not that long ago for a tournament. And, like I said, even, see my youngest daughter at swim meets and stuff. Those are all things that I always did my best to get there, but there was never a guarantee.
Totally. Shout out to St. Rose around the corner.
Yeah.
Good.
Nice facility.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
Great school. So now you decided, after the retirement, after a little stint somewhere else, you decided that you're going to open your own business.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's dig into that a little bit.
Yeah,
so now, again, you're 25 years out of military and police, and now you're going to be an entrepreneur, a sole business owner.
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, it comes with that like excitement, but that nervousness, right? Because I did have a job lined up when I retired from my police career, and that job was going great, and I really enjoyed working for that company. And but I selfishly just wanted some more time with my family, if I could get it, and be a little bit more flexible.
Does your wife like having you home so much?
Man, my wife, we've been married for 20 years, right? Yeah. My wife's great. Krista, great. I'm saying it.
Shout out to Krista. She's great.
Right? How she's put up with this for 20 years, I'm not really 100% sure, but she's doing it. So I
always say if I stayed home, my wife would kill me. Like,
we're busy. My wife has always been a worker as well, so my wife's busy, and she's not working, then she's volunteering. We both believe in volunteer work and giving back.
It's great.
So my wife's involved. We choose to send our children to Catholic school, right? So so there's a lot to be able to volunteer there and get involved and be involved with my children as well. And so she's, my children are lucky to have her. They're lucky to have that kind of attention and from their mom and be involved like that. So they're really lucky to have her. So, even though I'm home more, I don't think my wife's home any more than she was before. So it's kind of the same, but we're also finding more time to spend with each other. And so far it's going pretty good. She hasn't left me yet.
Good.
So I'm going to keep calling it a win.
Keep calling it a win.
Yeah.
So now let's go into the new business.
Yeah, new business. So, I'm a pretty simple guy, so the Bravo 5 thing, I've had people ask me, is that like the military thing, cop? I'm like, no, my last name starts with B, and that's the phonetic word in the alphabet, in the military phonetic alphabet is Bravo for B, and I'm a family of 5, right? So that's it. That's all it is.
That's really
all
it
is, right? So so that's where it comes from, and that's it. And even the symbol itself, it just looks like the standard, New York-style police badge you see throughout, this state and this area, so I just keep things simple, So it's a private security, private investigation company. I've really been enjoying it, and once again, it's allowing me to meet, a lot of good people and network with guys like Drew, guys like yourself, and hopefully provide a service that people need. Unfortunately, they need, at times.
Sometimes you're not brought in for good things. You're brought in.
Generally not, right? And that's like a little joke I've always had too when I was a police officer and talking to people like, police officers or firefighters or emergency responders, no one's calling in their house and be like, yeah, come over, have a cup of coffee. I want to tell you about the best day of my life, right? It's generally just not how it goes. Generally, the way it goes is that somebody's having the worst day or one of the worst days of their lives, or in a situation they can't figure out on their own or need help, and that's why they're calling.
But on the other side is it's got to be a reward to help them. Again, not everything's great, rainbows and sunshine every day. So again, somebody's having a very hard day or a very, tough situation, you're able to come in and kind of help.
Yeah, it's there's definitely a reward there, and a sense of accomplishment, and so there's a lot of correlations there, right? If people are calling and they need private security, it could be for nothing more than just hey, maybe they're bringing in high net worth, value clients, and they just want to make sure, and that's fine. It's not really a terrible thing.
Yeah.
But other times there is maybe the situation where they feel like they need that security because they're coming out of a bad relationship that ended in some kind of domestic violence, and that's a shame. And so, but again, we're there to hopefully help, provide a little peace and calm in that moment, and provide a service that they need. The investigation stuff, similarly, right? It's I work for a lot of attorneys' offices, which I great. Love working for the attorneys' offices. There's a need there, and but again, usually the attorneys aren't calling and hiring private investigators because, hey, listen, we want to find out how great someone's doing. It's about trying to get to the truth and be able to build a strong case and build their argument.
We had a private investigator on a while back, and he was telling us about putting devices on people's cars, and when they have two devices on the car, like there's been another private investigator there before them. So just crazy to think that I live in a very sheltered world, I guess, because I never even think about things like that.
Sure, and nowadays technology is so advanced, right? And all these tracking devices or cameras are so small and so easily available that it doesn't even have to be a private investigator, right? Maybe it's the jealous wife or husband trying to figure out what's going on, or a business partner or a relationship that went bad. You just don't know.
It's crazy.
But it's definitely different.
So now let's get into the grit. So like you were an employee for the police department where you had a guaranteed paycheck every week, regardless. So assuming you showed up and you were getting paid. So now you're on your own,
right? And
now you have to find customers. You have to do work for these customers. You have to service them. You have to bill them. You have to.
Yeah, so a couple of my friends that I keep in touch with from my police job, when I was telling them what I was going to do and I was going to leave my private job that I had, some of them just basically started out asking me, like, "What, are you crazy?" And I was like, "Well, maybe a little bit, but yeah, it takes a lot, right? I think in this country, the average time for a business that's new to start making money is 3 to 5 years, right? So you have, in my opinion, hit the ground running and be hyper-focused on what is it you need to do, right? After you get all the foundations set up and the administrative paperwork and licensing and insurances set up, you have to generate customers, right? Because you have to make money, right? And it's great to provide a service, but in the end, if you're not making money and taking care of your family and providing, what are you in it for, right? So, and that doesn't come instantly, right? As we all know. So that's you can easily get caught up by thinking, I'm going to wake up, get to work from home, great, and then, I'm just going to, drive my kids to the bus real quick. I'm just going to go to the gym real quick, and, I'll walk my dog. And the next thing you know, half your workday is gone. Did you do anything for your company, right? And so, I think it takes a lot of grit, to get up and know, like, okay, today this is the to-do list. I got to get through it, and this is why, and this is what the purpose is, and you just keep hammering away and pushing at it. And I think part of, I couldn't sit here and tell you what the exact definition of grit is. I'm certainly not a vocabulary expert or English major. But for me, I think what we're talking about, whether it's fortitude or grit or whatever adjective, is being okay with failure and knowing that failure's coming, right? And that
you learn from failure.
You have to learn from it, and you have to accept that as part of the process. And if you're going to allow the first failure or the second failure to stop you, you're never going to achieve ultimately what you want. Right. So failure is part of any process. This is something I've been trying to express to my children, especially my son, since I've been able to spend more time with them as they're aging, and just to know it's coming and it's okay, and you can pivot and you can learn from it, right? And then you just keep pushing and you keep pushing. And at some point, the problem that I think all business owners want to have is get to the point where all those efforts to build that pipeline, get those customers worked, and now you need more employees. You don't know how to handle the work that's coming in, right? So ultimately, as business owners, we can get to that point and then successfully manage that, right? I think that's where we want to be.
You got to change the end zone, as I like to say. Again, what you did when you're a one-man band is different than when you have a few employees. Then when you have a team of employees. Then when you have a team of employees, now you need more work. You got to keep that. You got to keep the funnel going.
And the scope of your work as the owner or the founder has to change, right? Because
your job changes all the time.
Yeah, right. There's only so much time in a day, and you can only do so much. So then you have to, listen. I believe in leadership. Leadership is the heart and soul of any organization. And my father, when he was alive, used to say the fish rots from the head down. So it's a pretty good analogy of how that works. So as a leader, you have to be able to accomplish that work through others, but then also know that you're not really stepping back or stepping off. You're still working, but you have to make sure you have the right people in place to accomplish those things for you. You know?
And yeah, then your job becomes helping them become
That's right.
stronger.
Yeah, you have to
Help
train
them.
them to be able to replace you, right? Because if they can already do your job and replace the person that they're, answering to, then you're running a good organization. You have a good structure. It's about the procedures, not the people, right? And you can take that week vacation with your family and not stress too much about
Yeah.
are things okay,
These damn things are the problem.
Part of it, right?
Because they're always going off.
Yeah,
but
you're tied to them.
You're on the other side is how you get all the work. So it's a catch-22.
Yeah, it definitely is.
So how do you like the differences? Like, when you go into grit, like there's a whole lot of differences.
Yeah.
A stable check, you have different risks, right?
Sure.
As a police officer going into different calls, there was some risky business.
Sure.
But at the end of the week, paycheck direct deposited,
Right. Yeah.
everything's good.
Yep.
Now you're doing this, and it's a whole different mindset. It's a whole different way of thinking, right?
Yeah.
How do you like it?
I like it. I like it because it's giving me what I was hoping to get out of it, which is that ability to build something that's mine, grow it, see the fruits of that labor, which is really satisfying. And also give me that extra time I want back, to spend with my family. So if it's, as today's example, there's something going on with my children at a certain time, I can block out I'm sorry, I can't take any more meetings today, or handling more tasks today.
And is that working?
There's always it's never that easy or that great, right? There's always going to be times where even that becomes like, okay, well, this is really important for what we're trying to do. I have to take this today, right? So, but it's definitely more flexible than being like a private job or even a public job like a first responder, where hey, this clock isn't over until 5 PM. I still got an hour and a half drive home, right? Like,
sure.
That's just a hard time, right? So it's still better.
So
but
dinner time should be easier for you now.
Dinner time's easier for me to be there, but like I said, I have 3 children who are super active and
they're not always there.
And so my wife and I are now chauffeur service, right?
Yeah, right.
Because none of them are old enough to drive yet,
Sure.
So, but this is a good time because all that time in the car with them and the driving back and forth and seeing their events, it's time that is going to go away, as soon as they start driving and some more friends start driving.
Yeah.
So enjoy it now. But to your original question about the little bit of inconsistencies with the budgets and the pay and stuff, it's okay. It works for me because it's like anything else. You have to learn it and understand it and.
Now, is the goal to build a team, or is the goal to stay kind of
No, for me the goal is to definitely build a team because again, you can't always do everything on your own. In the beginning, it makes sense. I'm fortunate I have a big network of retired police officers that I do know
that you can tap into
from my career or family and friends I grew up with that are have gone through the same career, and you can tap into, right? So I can I have the manpowers I needed for jobs that come up. But again, in the future, to continue to build a team and put a more permanent team in place, it makes sense.
That's great.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the need is there, so I don't think you have any problem generating the leads.
No. What I do find, though, and is that it is more of a, like you brought up Drew Smith, Drew the credit guy, him and I are in a networking group together, and it's a little bit more niche, right? If you're even Drew's case, if you're the credit fixer, everybody knows what that is, right? If you're the electrician or the plumber, like, okay, that's you hear it like, oh, I got an electrician, right? When you say private security, private investigations, it becomes, oh, well, how do I refer that, or who do I know that might need that? So there's a little bit more of a niche, like how do I, help this guy out network? But once people understand it more, there's a need, and then they start thinking, oh, yeah, you do that? Or, okay, that makes sense. So I always try and tell everybody, like, if you have a security or investigation question, please think of me and ask or reach out, and I'll be very honest with you. If it's something we can handle, we'll handle it. If it's something that's beyond our capabilities, I'll just tell you, right? Because what I don't want to do is provide a poor service.
Sure.
So
it's better to better to know your core competencies than to start reaching too far.
Yeah, and part of that is like through the networking and spending a career in law enforcement and knowing the people, I will always try and then help them find, okay, well, my company can't do that for you, right? Maybe, but this is somebody I trust that does do it. You should reach out to them.
Now, how did you decide to, as you started your business, to get into networking?
Well, it's a low cost way of advertising, right? And it's a great way as the business owner to meet people in all industries and to really find out where maybe my niche, as I'm talking about, fits, and where that can generate some more leads for me. So initially I started looking at different networking groups, but the same thing, I can't spend my entire week or days at all these different networking groups. So looked into some multiple different ones and settled on joining a couple, and they work out nice.
That's great.
But I also, SEO is everything these days, search engine optimization and websites. So I through the networking group, have met a guy named Dan Flounders, who actually reconnected. I knew him years ago and reconnected through this. He's the founder and operator of AI Star. Really cool company. AI it's here. It's not coming. It's already here, right? Got to embrace it. And so I hired Dan, and he handles my SEO. And pushing out through the social media and helping generate leads and customers there. So
that's great.
It's really an amazing tool, and he's really good at it.
Yep.
So, but it goes back to what we're talking about. You can't do everything on your own.
No.
And
you got to find those right players.
Find the round pegs and put them in the round holes.
Yep.
And so anybody out there that needs anything with AI or SEO, if you don't mind me plugging them, but Dan Flounders, AI Star, for sure, he's the guy.
Cool.
So
that's great. And then, so now you've been doing the networking for a couple of years?
Well, no, I've only been started Bravo 5 a little less than a year ago. So it's a totally new venture for me.
But you've been doing it since the beginning?
Yeah, since the beginning. So just like I said, it just have to have a starting place somewhere to generate that.
Perfect.
So, and it's been going well.
So you got internet, you got your leads coming from the internet, you got your leads coming from your networking.
Well, then for word of mouth referrals from the people that
do
hire you, and they're happy, right? And then also your friends and family in life, and people that people will buy or hire people that they know, like, and trust. Right?
Agreed.
Right. So that's it. That's the recipe. So the word of mouth referrals are great because people are trusting you and knowing you, and they're talking to other people that already trust them and know them, right? So I think that the older school methods I believe in.
Definitely.
Knocking on doors and walking into attorneys' offices and introduce myself. I do that if I have free time, and I'll research and look. Okay, well, today I'm in this area and go to these places.
That's great.
Because there's something to be said for that,
Totally.
And same thing with the referrals. So it's a constant right now hunt for the jobs.
Is that what you're doing after this?
After this, I have an appointment with hopefully a prospective client.
Good.
So we're going to take that and
that's
see
great.
if it turns into work.
Good thing it was close to Belmar.
I know, it really worked out.
Was that just mere luck, or
it was luck?
All right, I love it.
Yeah.
So what is something that again, when we look at guys that are in first responder worlds and they're going to think about retirement, and what's one piece of advice that you can leave the audience with to say, going from the first responder world to now being a business owner?
Yeah, the biggest thing that I always hoped was true, and I learned is true, is that there is plenty of work out there for retired first responders. And I think it fits into what we just kind of talked about with no trust and like. Inherently, most people, no matter what the negative press is these days or media or people's opinion, most people, in my experience, trust first responders, right?
Sure.
There's an inherent trust that comes along with having that career, right?
Yeah.
So I had this nervousness, and a lot of guys I still talk to or that are on that point where they can retire, but what will I do? Or, what can I find? Is there work out there? Because, once again, it's a pretty specialized skill set. You spend 25 years, 30 years doing this, and it's like, well, how do I break into the corporate world? And by the time you retire, you're in your mid 40s to 50s, and so you're like, so I think the biggest piece of advice I can give to anybody that's thinking about retiring is don't be afraid to do it. There's plenty of work out there, whether you want to work part-time, full-time gig work, that is available to you because people inherently trust you as a first responder and know that you're going to show up, right? You can be a leader. You can also be a follower and take command and take orders and get things done and be self-reliant. And so it's been my experience that employers, other business owners, they are more than willing to give you a chance if I'm a retired firefighter, I'm a retired police officer, I'm retired military, because I think it just comes with a inherent amount of like, okay, this person spent a career doing this.
Yeah.
I can trust that they're going to
Totally.
get my job done. You know, so just make the leap. It's there.
Do it.
You know, do it, because you know, one of the great things about the end of a public service job is it comes with a pension. Now,
Sure.
it's not the same as when you were there, but it's also better than not having anything to fall back
and-
on or start,
yeah, I
right?
mean,
so
exactly.
so you have, and I'm grateful for that. That's, you know, very grateful for, you know, what the you know, the pension system gives us. So it's a security blanket enough to let you take that leap of faith.
Exactly.
So
Again, when most business owners start, there's no security
No,
blanket.
right.
So like, even though it's not what you were making, you're guaranteed some income every month to help pay the bills, to help
That's right.
help with the mortgage and
right,
everything
so
else.
and you're already very fortunate. You're already a step ahead
Yep.
of the average entrepreneur starting
Yep.
out.
And you have the discipline from the 20, 25
absolutely.
years of service, because you had to show up every day.
You had to show up.
You had to,
right?
you had to,
Doesn't matter what's going on in the state. You're required to show up.
Yeah.
Snowstorm, right?
Doesn't matter.
Hurricanes. You're going to show up,
Yep.
right? And you're going to get through it. So
So just do it is what you're saying.
pretty much take that leap of faith. Just do it. And,
love
and I think that if you make an honest effort and live an honest life and try hard, I think it comes back to you. You know, and that's pretty much it.
I love it. So, as a takeaway, family first.
Family
do
first.
it and believe in it.
Believe in yourself. Believe in
and
the
believe
efforts.
believe in everything.
Yeah.
Then and just hustle hard and get it done.
Yeah.
Learn from your mistakes. Get back up.
Yeah, that's it. You know.
So as we wrap up today, it's great to have you on. This was a great conversation. Let people know where they can find you online, on your social media, so that anybody that's looking for your services can.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. So online, you can find me at www.bravo5ips.com, which stands for Bravo 5 Investigative Protective Services. On Facebook, my company page is Bravo, the number 5 IPS. And if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn or on Facebook on a personal level, it's Daniel Bendas, not Danny, but I go by Danny. But so that's it. You can check out Bravo 5. And like I said, I have a really good guy helping me out with all that stuff.
Awesome.
So I'm sure if you look it up, you'll find it and can connect with me. And I'd be happy to connect and, you know.
Sounds great. Well, thank you for coming on today.
Yeah,
Thanks
appreciate
for
it.
telling your story. Thank you for the hat.
Yeah, no problem.
And keep doing great things.
I really appreciate it. Pleasure meeting you. Thanks, Tom.